Well, I'm still on a bit of a high after yesterday's glorious Palm Sunday service. Between the children's choirs, the bell choirs, the chancel choir, and the great Palm Sunday hymns, you just can't help but feel a surge of emotion. But then comes Monday. It's not just that we're back to life as usual, it's that we are in the midst of Holy Week, undoubtedly the most dramatic week of the church year. So there's a school of thought out there in church world that says on Palm Sunday we should focus not only on Jesus' entry into Jerusalem, but also on his passion and death. In that school of thought, Palm Sunday has become Palm Passion Sunday. And I get the idea. So many people come to church on Palm Sunday and then again on Easter, but do not show up for Maundy, Thursday, or Good Friday to hear the Passion story, that if they're ever going to hear that story, it must be told on Palm Sunday, hence Palm Passion Sunday. And I've tried it out, but in the end, maybe I'm old-fashioned, I just prefer Palm Sunday to be Palm Sunday. And here's the other thing. The Palm Passion Sunday pattern also misses some important things. Between 1/3 and 1/2 of each of the Gospels focuses on the 1 week in Jesus' life between Palm Sunday and Easter. So even if we read the Palm Sunday story and then skip to the Passion story, we've missed a whole hunk of the story in between. So this week, we'll walk through some of the things that the Gospels record throughout this dramatic week. And what you'll see, I hope, is how contentious things became between Jesus and the religious authorities. We'll pause and talk about a few of the things that happened that in part precipitated his arrest, trial, suffering, and crucifixion. And since this is year B of the 3-year lectionary cycle, we'll use this year's primary gospel, the Gospel of Mark, as our guide. So let's get started. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas. And this is your daily devotional for Monday, March 25th, 2024. We all know the Palm Sunday story. Jesus rides into Jerusalem on the back of a young donkey while crowds line the streets and shout Hosanna while waving palm branches as he passes by. But from there, the Gospels diverge somewhat. In Matthew and Luke, Jesus immediately enters Jerusalem and cleanses the temple. As we saw a few weeks ago, John places that episode early in Jesus' ministry, not on or after Palm Sunday. But Mark tells the story even a little bit differently. Let me read the very end of the Palm Sunday story as Mark tells it, and then move into what happens next. Then those who went ahead and those who were following were shouting, Hosanna! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the coming kingdom of our ancestor David. Hosanna in the highest heaven. Then Jesus entered Jerusalem and went into the temple, and when he had looked around at everything, as it was already late, he went out to Bethany with the 12. It's almost anticlimactic how it ends, isn't it? Big parade, lots of people, palm branches, shouts of Hosanna, and then he looks around and goes home. But this is where Mark does something special. He places the cleansing of the temple the next day, and he uses a literary device that you start to recognize if you read through his gospel. He embeds the story of the cleansing of the temple within a completely different story, letting the two stories reinforce and reinterpret each other. Here's what Mark says happened the next day, which would be Monday. On the following day, when they came from Bethany, he was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to see whether perhaps he would find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. He said to it, May no one ever eat fruit from you again. And his disciples heard it. You know, we always feel kind of bad for that fig tree. After all, it wasn't the right time of year for a fig tree to produce fruit. So it seems rather arbitrary for Jesus to curse the poor tree. But it's not really about the tree. The fig tree story is the setup for the cleansing of the temple, which reads in part, Then they came to Jerusalem, and he entered the temple and began to drive out those who were selling and those who were buying in the temple, and he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves, and he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. And when the chief priests and the scribes heard it, they kept looking for a way to kill him, for they were afraid of him, because the whole crowd was spellbound by his teaching. And when evening came, Jesus and his disciples went out of the city. So the day begins with cursing a fig tree and ends after Jesus cleanses the temple, which sets up the chief priest's plot to kill him. But the fig tree? Well, Mark returns to it, but not until the next morning. And of course, that's what we'll do. Tomorrow, the disciples pass by the fig tree again, and Jesus comments on it. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.